You're joining me at Scottish National Landlord Day 2013, and I am delighted to be joined by Housing Minister Margaret Burgess, who gave one of the keynote addresses here this morning. So welcome, Minister.
Thank you.
Now, how important is an event such as this in respect of bringing together all the stakeholders in the private rented sector, all under one roof, all on the same day?
I think it's very important, particularly as the private rented sector in Scotland is growing. It's doubled over the last 10 years, and it's really important that we get all the stakeholders together in one day and they can have a good exchange of views.
Mm-hmm. Now, in your presentation, you were mainly talking about the upcoming housing bill. Could you share a few insights into that for us?
I think in terms of the private rented sector, the most significant things in the private rented sector is our intention to regulate the letting agency industry. We're absolutely aware of the vital role they play within the private sector, but we're also aware that while most are very professional and well managed, there are those that don't meet those high standards. And we're determined that there will be consistent high standards throughout Scotland, and also a redress for tenants and landlords if those standards are not provided and maintained.
I found it was interesting because you said that other parts of the UK were actually looking at Scotland and what you were doing here and seeing what you'd achieved.
Yes, there was a lot of interest shown by other parts of the UK, particularly in some of the measures we've already introduced, our tenant information pack, our tenancy deposit scheme, and how we've dealt with that and how our strategy, we actually have a strategy for the private sector, and I think that's important. That's the first strategy since devolution in this country. We have a strategy now.
And how healthy do you think the private rented sector is in Scotland? You mentioned it's growing, but it's healthy.
It's growing, it's healthy, but it has to grow more. But we have to increase consumer confidence in the sector.
Yes.
And I think by the measures we've introduced so far and the measures that we intend to introduce in the housing bill, I think that will encourage more growth in the sector.
One thing you were keen to get across was that good landlords don't have anything to fear from regulation.
No, they don't have, and I think regulation will benefit the good landlords, absolutely, because that will increase. If we can drive out the bad landlords or get the bad landlords to improve their services and their management, then we have a consistent service across Scotland, increased consumer confidence. Consumers will want to move into the private sector, where at the moment they're not.
Now, there were some you were talking a little bit about longer tenancies, and there are some concerns that this might make it harder for landlords to get repossession of their properties. How are you going to deal with that?
Well, at the moment there's a group set up. I set up a group and it's going to report back to me in February looking at tenancy regime, and that group includes all stakeholders in the sector, including landlords, and we have to get a solution that is suitable to both. It meets the needs of tenants and landlords. So I don't want to preempt the decision of that group, but if we do have to legislate after the recommendations come forward, we will do so.
Fantastic. So just to finish, what would your message be to landlords all across Scotland that maybe can't be here today but are watching this?
My message to landlords is from the Scottish Government is we know the vital role they're playing in meeting the housing needs of the Scottish people. We know that they have an increased role to play in the future, and we want to work with them to ensure that we've got a sector that's got everybody's trust and confidence.
Well, it's absolutely fantastic to have your contribution here today, Minister. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.